Hi, I'm CeCe Ramey. I'm Baylee's boss and friend.
CeCe, take one.
Tell me about your current relationship status and how this affects where you're at.
Hey maybe babies, we're going to be doing something a little different for this interview because the first time I filmed CeCe, she was in a long-term relationship, planning for marriage, kids, and just a few months later, she is not. So what we're going to do is we're going to be cutting back and forth in between her mindset in a relationship and now her reaction now that she's in a completely different life scenario. So take a look. Hope you enjoy.
I'm currently in a long-term relationship. We have talked probably from the beginning that we both want to have kids one day.
Is it weird to see that interview and you be like in that state in your life?
Yeah, it is weird to see it because I know in that point in my life, in that day, we were thinking about the future. We were thinking about the rest of our lives together, how we were going to make things work. And I think it was a week or two later that we broke up.
One thing that I think is interesting about you is you're so young and you're a creative director at a
Large
company. And that's a really big deal. And you worked really hard to get to that point. And so do you have any worries, fears about like putting that on pause?
Yeah, I definitely feel that I worked very hard in my career. And so I do think that it could put part of my career at risk. There's a lot more expectations put on women to be mothers and heads of households.
And how do you think you and your partner would balance that? Like, do you think that you'll be more traditional in that aspect or more modern? Or?
Yeah, I have spoken with my partner quite a lot about that dynamic. And we've also discussed that I wouldn't expect that from myself, that I'd want there to be more of a partnership and equality.
How does he feel about that dynamic?
I believe my partner feels that he wants to be supportive of me and my career and my perspective as a woman and future mother. But we'll see. I think there's like what we expect to happen and then what actually does happen. Yeah, I know why I said that last line. I was sensing that I would end up giving up more time. I don't think I'd end up giving up my career, but I was sensing in that dynamic that I was probably gonna run into some more resentment and like having to take on more of the mental load. Packing their lunch, making sure they have their sign up for the field trip, all this like noise that I feel ends up oftentimes going to women to take care of. It's okay, like if the mom opts in to be a stay-at-home mom and there's like clear communication and respect around that, I think that's fine, but I just don't see that for myself. In the Western culture, there's like a tradition around like what are feminine or tasks for women and what are masculine and tasks for men. You can see this in the household with chores, like men take out the trash, women wipe and clean, and these are scripts that have been passed down culturally. And so for me in my relationship, it's something that we discuss if these are scripts that work for us, and how do we connect on these tasks and degendering these tasks and turning them just into tasks that we want to prioritize for our dynamic and our relationship together. I think some of my reaction too was more than just my own relationship, but also like my parents and saying what my parents' dynamic is like, where like my mom would do a lot of labor around the house, cleaning, picking the kids up, cooking, etc. And my dad didn't particularly participate in that, and he still kind of doesn't. So I think that dynamic is not something I want to repeat. And so even in my future relationships and dynamics, I don't want that. I want more of a partnership. I want more respect and equality. And I don't want things to be like traditional just because that's the way things are. I want it to be like that we're both contributing to make a life together and that we're both recognizing and having a lot of gratitude around that.
Did any part of you have a fear that you were like heading towards your parents' dynamic?
Oh yeah, I definitely had a fear that I was heading towards my parents' dynamic. I had like written down like things that I was reflecting on that reminded me of like the way my mom and dad are in that particular relationship, and it is something I talked about in therapy. The couples counselor and I both agreed that I was dating my dad. It's a fun combo.
Interesting. And is that something that you don't want to do?
Yeah, it's definitely something I don't want to do. Not that my dad's a bad person. I love my dad, but I don't want to feel trapped. And I definitely am a big believer of breaking family, toxic family patterns. So yeah, that is like something I am a little nervous about with dating again, is like making sure I'm not repeating another pattern.
Is there a particular family dynamic or childhood experience that shaped how you feel about parenthood?
Something I'd want that I didn't have is like more stability and more emotional regulation in any child's upbringing or home. The different generations have had different tools passed down to them or available. I think these future generations and our current one have great tools available to them around therapy, around self-reflection, around gratitude.
To me, you seem like the most realistic, stable, emotionally regular person that I know. Is that something that you are like, feel like you need to, because maybe you didn't grow up with that you're like overcompensating to be as stable as you possibly can?
Yeah, I think because of the dynamic I grew up in, it's very important for myself to like have emotional regulation and to be able to create like calm patient environments. And that's something I'm definitely excited to bring into the future when I have kids. Anyone who is considering being a parent one day, take stock of where they're at, emotionally with their own inner child, how they are based off of their previous family dynamics, and take a look at like the scripts that have been passed down to them in their families, and to reflect if the dynamic that they have with their parents is the same dynamic they want to have with their own kids. And if it's not, what are the next steps to change that?
Would you be open to adoption or surrogacy?
I think I would be open to adoption or surrogacy. I don't believe my partner is, hence why we are looking to having biological children, and we've had this discussion. Yeah, you can see like my hesitation. That's because I would be very open to adopting. I think about how every single human is 99.9999% the same DNA. So when people say this thing about, having kids to proliferate their genes and their line, it doesn't really make sense to me because we're all people. I know that we're all very different, but genetically we're kind of very similar. So I don't really follow that line of thinking and that logic. So for me, adopting makes sense. Also, pregnancy sounds terrifying, and an opportunity to have a kid without going through that process also sounds great. I think giving birth is really scary. Like as a woman, like your body goes through so many changes, hormones, weight, even your like nose can like poof up, as I've tried to terrify the director of today. Like you can have swelling, loss of hair, loss of calcium. And then like I have had friends that have like given stillbirths, and I think that's incredibly tragic. So I think there is a risk to giving birth, as there is a risk for any kind of medical procedure, especially if you're a woman. So yeah, I think that's scary. And then there's also postpartum depression, which I think could be scary, and I have a family history of.
Do you think it's selfish to not have kids?
No, I do not think it's selfish to not have kids. I think it could actually be quite selfless to not have kids. There are people I know who don't want to have kids, and it's because they know it's what's best for themselves. They know it's what's best for the kids they're not having as well. To be a child where you don't have a choice, to be brought into an environment that isn't healthy or conducive to your development is not good at all. I don't believe everyone should be parents. I very strongly do not believe that it's like a given right. I think, with a lot of Christian religions, which is the predominant religions, in the Western world, there's pressure on everyone to have kids because they have to, because they're supposed to. But I don't think that should be the default, because it should be if someone wants to have kids and if someone like has the capacity to take the responsibility on of having kids and the emotional bandwidth and maturity.
I feel like we talk about having kids every week, and every week I'm on a different page. Next question, should I have a baby?
When you oscillate between having a baby and not having a baby, whenever you talk about your own dynamic and relationship with your parents, you light up and glow, and you say how much they've had an impact on you. So I do take joy in the idea that you would bring that same, that same dynamic and support and joy into another generation.
Ready to be knocked up?
I think she's wanted to be a mom this whole time.
Do you think that? You think I've wanted to be a mom?
Yeah, I think you've wanted to be a mom this whole time. I think you've just been like really honing into the decision, which is good. I respect that. I think that's good because I think I said this in my first interview. A lot of people just go into having kids without thinking about it. I think you've been very thoughtful about it and looking at what it means for you, what it means for your partner, your family. And so, yeah, but I think you've wanted it the whole time. I think you've had some fears and some doubts, but I think you've wanted it.
Interesting. Maybe.
You have a list of baby names, so I don't know what that says.
Kind of a sign.
But I also think your life will still be fulfilling even if you don't have a child.
CeCe, the wisest woman alive.
Cool.
All right. Cut.
Sweet.
So good.
Anyone else go through a breakup?
Not yet.
Not yet.